Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make a pattern called Sunburst. It's all done with half square triangles, and this is the block it makes. Now the method I'm going to show you is going to allow us to get really sharp points and make these intersections match really easily. So let's go ahead and get some fabrics and get started. Now the pattern is from Cozy Quilt Designs, and it has 4 different sizes, which is really nice. I'm going to make the throw size, and it uses fat quarters. So I'm going to need at least 7 fat quarters, and we've got this really nice bundle here of batiks from Robert Kaufman, and that has a nice blend. Then we're also going to need a background. I'm going to need 4 1/3 yards, and then we need a yard each of 2 different accents. So let's go ahead and get these cut out so we can start sewing. So let's open the fat quarter bundle and see which of these we want to use. Now I only have to use 7 for the size I'm making, but I think I'm going to use a few more because it'll give me a little better color variety, but a few of them are a little too light. So here's my background. That just isn't going to provide enough contrast. That will be good. That will work. So these 4, this probably has enough contrast, but I don't like the color as well. So I think I'll eliminate these and we'll use all of these guys. So what we want to do is open all of them up and iron them nice and flat so when we cut, we will have accurate pieces. Now all of the fat quarters are going to get cut exactly the same way. And I've got all 10 of mine stacked up. I'm comfortable cutting 10 layers. You may not want to cut that many, so just cut as many layers as you're comfortable with so you can get nice, accurate cuts. Now, I can't give you the sizes because this is not my pattern, but it's a Cozy Quilt Design patterns, and they're so easy to follow. I've made tons of them, and it will tell you exactly how big to cut your strips. So I'm going to get these cut out, and then we'll get the background and the accents cut. I have everything cut up, and now we need to make some strip units. And these are actually going to be strip tube units. So let's start with one of the accent colors here. Let's take this guy and one of the backgrounds. And we are going to stitch them together along one long side using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it doesn't really matter which one you put on top, which one you put on the bottom. Just put them right sides together and use a careful 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to go all the way down. And once you reach the end, I'm just going to spin it around and go down the other side. So I'm making a tube. I'm just using 1/4 inch seams on both edges. So go ahead and stitch all of your long accent pieces to backgrounds in tubes, stitched on both sides. And then these are the shorter pieces. These were cut from the fat quarter bundles. And so this is also stitched on both sides. So you can see we've stitched on both sides. They are also tubes. And they're all going to get cut using exactly the same method. So we are going to use something called a strip tube ruler. The pattern will give you directions for cutting if you don't have this, but this makes it go a lot faster. So we're going to take the 3-inch line that's on the ruler there, and we're going to put that 3-inch line on our stitching line, and that's why I stitched with light thread. So you can see this line is right on the stitching line, and I'm going to cut a triangle here. Now, because this is a tube, what I've got here has that seam. It's going to open up and make a square. Now you'll notice there might be a stitch or 2 left at the top there. That's okay, that won't hurt anything. The joy of using this method is that every single one of these squares is going to be exactly 3 inches after we cut it. So it's very, very accurate. So I've moved the ruler up to the top, and I'm going to cut along this edge now. Now we've got another one here. Now I'm going to flip the ruler over and cut again from this edge. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way along the tube. Now that we have those squares cut, we want to open them all up and iron them. And there's kind of a knack to this. So I'm going to put the background side down on my ironing board. You have to pull apart those little stitches that were left there. They come right apart. Then peel that open so that this stays nice and straight. Now the square is biased, so you don't want to stretch it too much. You just want to press it just like that. So let me show you one more time. Pull apart those few stitches. Peel it open so nothing distorts. Kind of press on that seam, but don't stretch it by finger pressing. Then iron. It goes really fast, so you can get a whole stack of them going and get a lot done in a hurry. Now, I like to trim all the dog ears off. I know it seems like an extra step, but it really does help the patchwork lay nice and flat, and it also makes it easier to get your blocks all lined up when you're stitching them together. Here are all the blocks for one of the squares. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out. This makes kind of a pinwheel. So every block, every part of the block is going to get laid out the same. So it's almost easiest if you just make it look like that and then turn it. And you can kind of see we're already getting kind of a pinwheel effect there. And you can check the pattern to make sure you're doing everything correct. So that's going to be the pinwheel. It's going to be in the middle. And then we're just going to echo that same diamond shape. So the diamond that's there, we're going to take two matching ones. We're going to make one that's the same shape. Then I'm going to use this same color up in this far corner. So again, I'm just going to echo that one for there, and then the same thing here. So we'll do that way and that way. And once you get the whole block laid out, double check that you've got it correct, because it's pretty easy to move something if you've got it the wrong way now, but it's a lot harder once it's stitched together. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the rows and stitch all the rows together. So let's start with these two guys. Then I'm just going to keep adding the pieces. So this one's going to go next. So I'm going to put it right sides on there. Now, since all of these squares are bias, it's real easy to make everything match. I mean, they were cut exactly the right size because we cut them after they were stitched. So that's a big advantage when you're stitching all of these together. Every block is exactly the same size. Sometimes when I make half square triangles with other methods, they don't always turn out exactly the same size. So this is a good method to ensure your accuracy. So here's the last piece in the last row. Now I'm going to finger press the seam allowances, but I'm not going to be doing it with my fingernails the way I normally do. So let's do this first row all to the right. So what you want to do is just press it down with your fingers. So make sure the seam is going the way you want, and then just press straight down. Now this next row, we want the seam going that way. So just gently make it point that way, and then just press straight down. So if I were to finger press, it will pull this. It's on the bias, and it will stretch out of shape. So we don't want to do that. So just keep alternating the way the seam allowances are going, and you don't have to iron it. You just have to give it a little smash so that it will stay pointing the way you want while you sew your rows together. So once you've got that done, take your first two, line them up so the bottom is all going that way, the top is all going this way, and look how easy this is to stitch together. So make your corners match right there. Start sewing just a little bit. Now this intersection here, you can see if I flip it over, it's really easy to make that line up. So just use your 1/4 inch seam, This is where I use the hope and sew method. I'm not actually poking a pin through or checking to see how close I am. I'm just sewing a 1/4 inch away, checking my intersections from the side here as I go. Now look how easy it is to line those up. Let's see how perfect we got. They're just matching so easily, and that's because this is bias. So it's really, really easy to get all your intersections just perfect. So let's finish these last 2 up. Now when you iron your blocks, you want to iron with the grain of the fabric, which is the diagonal. So you want to be careful that you don't pull your block this way and this way as you iron. You want to pull in the direction of the grains of the fabric, and that will keep your block flat and undistorted. If you start pulling the block like this, the edges will ripple and it won't stay flat. So this way and this way, and look how nice those points match up. And that's not because I did anything special or because I'm an extra special careful quilter. They just happen to match really easily with this style patchwork. Now half the quilt is made with blocks like this, with the blue accent. The other half of the blocks are made exactly the same way, but they have the other accent color. Now for these outside guys here, it doesn't matter if you do 4 the same or 4 different ones, just whatever you want. So half the blocks like this, half the blocks like that. Now there's a hint I can give you that's not in the pattern. I found it a lot easier to make a lot of these diamond units, because the whole quilt is made of these diamond units, and then take 1 accent and 1 of your colors from your fat quarter and make a bunch of these. So this is the same thing in this block 4 times around. It's just turned around. So I found it easiest to make a bunch of these units and then put my blocks together. But if you like making them block at a time, you can use that method also. All the blocks are done, so I can lay the quilt out. Now I have 42 blocks. We're going to have 7 rows with 6 in each row, and we're just simply going to alternate them by their accent color here. There. Now I literally just put all the blocks out. I haven't traded anything around, I haven't turned anything around, and this is just so easy to make look good. Now one of the keys is having really strong accent colors. You want those to really be strong. And then these, I don't know if you can see it, they will be making a little pinwheel in the middle also. So I'm going to get all of these stitched together. There's a little border that goes all the way around in the background, and then we'll get it onto the quilting machine. The Sunburst quilt is on the machine. I'm really happy that it turned out so flat. Sometimes when you're working with all bias squares, it doesn't turn out very flat, but this one was easy to keep nice and flat. Now for thread colors, I'm going to want it to blend in. So this green matches, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little too dark in the light areas. We could go with rose. Rose will blend in nice in the dark and in the light, but this is really the best choice here. It's a very light aqua, so this is almost going to not show in the light, not going to show very much there, and even on these darkest areas, it doesn't show too much. So let's go with this one. For the quilting pattern, I've chosen one called Variety. It has a little bit of swirliness in it, but it's not too complex, and it won't fight with all the stars or all the pinwheels in the patchwork. The whole quilt is done now. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's very even and balanced. It was fun to make and not very difficult. It's one of those that once you make one block and you've got the one block figured out correctly, you can just relax your mind and just keep sewing all the rest of the blocks. The points all came out nice and pointy, the intersections matched really easily, and it stayed nice and flat. And I think that's because even though all of the fabrics are on the bias, there's all these seams within each block, and that tends to keep it nice and stable. Now the quilting, you can probably see it a little bit on the back side, but because I've got so much print showing with these peacock feathers, it blends right in, and that's nice. And it also doesn't show or take away too much from the top, from the patchwork, but it gives it just a little bit of texture. Thanks for watching our tutorial today on how to make the Sunburst quilt. We hope you enjoyed it. Now we're going to have a giveaway. This quilt is called Stardust. Now we did a tutorial on how to make this some time ago. Another fun quilt, all in batiks. Really pretty aqua purples. Now to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is click the link below the video that says giveaway and put in your email address and your name, and we can send this anywhere in the world. Our last winner was from Australia. Good luck. Now if you like our tutorials and you want to support us, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would really help us out. Happy quilting!